How's it going? Coming in today with another video, and today guys, what to bring to you is my X-2 Columbus Regional Striker list. It was a lot of fun and I really liked my list a lot, but there's definitely some changes that I would like to make, and I'll show you what those are. And I also have a lot of thought process behind the new format and things that I think could be really amazing tech options on the sideboard. We'll talk about what those are. If you haven't already checked my sponsors over on Imperium Duelist, Dragon Shield, and now RAW Hobbies, definitely go over there, check them out. It's all in the description below. RAW is the new team and it's been a lot of fun so far. And also on Tuesdays, if you want to see me actually play my local matches, it'll be over on the live stream on twitch.tv/RW Hobbies, where I'll be running their stream on Tuesday nights, and then you'll see each one of my local matches, and then we'll be taking those matches on the VODs, and I'll be making videos from them and showing you exactly what my thought process is whenever I'm sitting down, whenever I start seeing the first cards being played, and immediately how I'm really going about looking at my hand and where I'm trying to place the cards at. Because as soon as I start seeing cards hit the board, I'm already looking at my hand like, all right, so this card will play for this card will wait for this card, and you can kind of just see my thought process as I go through an entire local match. So I do hope that you enjoy those too, because I've been getting asked for those for quite a while now. I just haven't really had the equipment to do so, but now that I do, we will be releasing those matches and really trying to help you out and show you exactly how to go about breaking a board, how to go about kind of trying to get to a simplified game state and play through a board too. So I'm really excited for those as well, because I really like being able to do that, especially for all of you, and I appreciate all of you, because you know I wouldn't be here without you. And we're about 50 subs away right now from 15k, which is really exciting, and that's going to be really amazing. If you haven't already entered the giveaway over in the community tab for the Demon Slayer deck box, definitely go over there, comment on that post, follow my Instagram, and you'll be signed up. And then once we hit 15k, we'll be giving away that Demon Slayer deck box. And then I'll also be doing a big announcement in Discord when we do hit 15k, so definitely make sure that you are in the Discord as well. Without further ado, let's hop right on into the things that I would change about the deck. So the first thing that I was thinking about is actually a super insane OTK line. And so I'm going to be siding Gamma from now on in this format, I believe, because it's really insane versus Splite. So what's really cool that you can do is you can go Shark Cannon Reborn Elf. So whatever Elf reborns doesn't have to be to an arrow it points to, and also you can use Elf as link material because it wasn't link summoned at that point. You're just specialing it from the graveyard. So you can go Elf bring back Gamma and then go into Halksleen access code. So off of one Shark Cannon, you can potentially get up to an access code really quickly, which is really nice. And it's just a really cool OTK line that I was thinking about after the tournament yesterday, where I was like, wow, this would have come up several times, because I was always in a position where I could bring back like an Elf, and I was just looking at my graveyard and I'm like, there's no twos, and I'm like, wait, if we sided Gamma, that'd be insane. So that's something that I was really thinking about a lot, and I think that's going to be a really nice play line. The next thing here is going to be talking a bit more about how to break the sprite board, and this is something that we used to do. We used to sideboard Cyber Dragon and then go into Mega Fleet. So I think that's really cool because it outs like the Marincess Link 4, you can out the Adagnister Towers, you can out the Elf. So you can go special Cyber Dragon, out Elf, and then swing over the Totally Awesome, because a Mega Fleet goes up to 24. So that's really cool. Big fan of that as well, just because this is just something that's really easy to just go ahead and break the board. So this is something that maybe you should try out. This is something that I'm going to be trying out. Maybe not today because I have a case tournament today, but definitely in theory, it's really nice. So the other thing too is Tier Element just seemed like it was really hard to play through most of the time, but the cards that really were shining for me in the matchups whenever I had to play against it was DD Crow, Ash, and Lava Golem. These are all really impactful. Crow should be at 3 in your main deck right now, mandatory, just like Ash Blossom. It's just really good, this format. I think Crow won me like 5 or 6 games yesterday. It was really nuts. Like every single time that I saw Crow, it was super important. I went 6-2 on the day. My losses were to Sprite. That matchup was crazy because they had full combo. They called by my Ash, and then Tactics ripped one from my hand, and instead of letting them see my hand, I just scooped, went to game 2. And then it was just wild too, because they had a lot of interruption. They double Zeused me, and then when I tried to just mine to at least sit on it for a couple turns, I got Harpy's Feather Dustered, so I was like, yeah, I was just never winning that one. That's fine. And then my other loss was to somebody who watches the channel too. He's playing something really based. It was the Umi Jellyfish Turbo deck, and it was like White Howling is crazy, and I couldn't see Ray for a while, and then when I finally saw Ray and got hit with White Howling, it's essentially like a Dweller variant of IO, which was crazy. So it was definitely just something that I just was not prepared for at all. You'll see in my sideboard why that is. But the rest of the day was really clean. Played against a lot of Sprite, a lot of Tier. Had a couple off matchups that were just like really rogue. There was like Dragon Maid. There was one like Mech Knight player. They were playing Therian Mech Knight is what it was. Therian Mech Knight. And that was interesting too because I just saw like the Therian cards, and the second that one hit the grave, I like crowed it and they couldn't really play because they couldn't like summon the Therian. And it was pretty interesting, but you'll also see why my choices that I made for the weekend were really smart as to what I was expecting, especially because of the fact that there's a couple cards that I was just thinking of that were going to be really impactful. And I feel like my theory for this weekend really did work, but there was definitely a couple cards that I was kind of like, I don't really know if it was that impactful, you know? It's going to be a bit of what you think the format's going to develop into, really, because this is the first tournament, so it's going to be a lot of older decks and a lot of newer decks, and you kind of have to find that like good medium between the two. So you'll kind of see here that I went X2 on the day with this list, and so I was main decking 3 Demise, the 3 Mystic Mine, and Metaverse and Terraforming because those cards are broken. But, you know, if you can play Mystic Mine, you should probably be playing Mystic Mine. I main deck Solemn Strike, and if you recall on this channel, I've said this quite a few times, that if you can main deck Strike, you probably should. Solemn Strike is just really strong. It's something that you can respond directly to the summon of a card, which is really nice too for those inherent summons. It also is really cool against like Mech Knight yesterday too, when they're trying to go for like the Purple Nightfall and hitting with Strike. Or when they go for like the bigger monsters and any of like the link decks, if you play against like Marincess, it's just really nice to have, honestly. Also, cards like There Can Be Only One. This is a card that I probably eventually just pull out because I feel like it's not that strong. And I'm going to try it again today in the case tourney that I'm about to play in because I really just want to see if it was just yesterday because I played against a lot of off matchups versus like a lot more meta. So I just want to make sure that it's going to be as good as I think it will be. Flipping it against Splight yesterday was definitely good. Definitely 2 old Flunderies because of it, which was cool. Even the Dragon matchup, being able to go ahead and flip There Can Be Only One, still very strong. So in theory, it's a very good card, especially against Sprite because most of them are Thunder. So it's really good, but it also just has a lot of drawback to where it wasn't that impactful. As far as like what I would swap it out with yet, I really don't know. I'm still looking at options right now. But you can see in my sideboard, though, as far as another trap that was really insane, was Different Dimension Ground. You should probably be playing this card. Every single time I saw this card against Tier Element, I just immediately won because they would reveal, like, Shaylin, and I was like, oh, cool. Different Dimension Ground. It was just over. So that was pretty crazy, and it's just such a good card. A lot of people were saying that you should be playing more than one Shark Cannon to really be able to mitigate that situation against the deck, but I really feel like just main decking the 3 Crow and having the 1 Shark Cannon is fine, because I wouldn't want multiple Shark Cannon in my hand turn 1 if I'm like going second. I'd rather just see Crows, because at that point you can actually like play at any time. Especially if you go like Enfei Shizuku and then your opponent reveals Hofness, which happened to me yesterday. They revealed 2 tiers off the Hofness. That was crazy. But you just want to make sure that you have Crow for the versatility. Crow also won me, like I said, like 5 or 6 games yesterday. It is insane. The amount of times that I just crowed things that were super important. Like my last match against the Dragon Maids, we were at like table 19. So Dragon Maids were actually doing really good. I was under my own mind, and I was crawling out like the tidings from the graveyard, so when I did go for game, I at least got to make sure that they couldn't just like block my attack with access code. So that was really cool too. Just overall very versatile card. I'm very big fan of it. Now the other card that was really insane yesterday, like just obnoxiously insane, was Offerings to the Doom. Now this card, just being the quick effect removal that it is, was so important to just probably 3 of my matches. And just seeing it was super good. Like, if you play against Sprite, a lot of times they go normal summon no effect because they don't want to get hit with Gamma or Ogre. That's another reason why Ogre is just so important right now, because of the fact that Ogre just goes crazy against decks like that. And also just hitting the Gigantic. I also used it to hit the Dragon Maid downtime, so I couldn't bounce my mind. So it was actually really cool. Or like if you play against Pure Punk, you can hit the Field Spell, which is the best one to hit with Ogre. But utilizing the offerings to the Doom when my opponent went like normal summon Swap Frog, no effect, and I would just go offerings and pop it and they'd just pass. It was kind of insane. Also just like offerings, a lot of people have a problem with the fact that like there's no drawing, but like at that point you should already have engaged, because that means you already had a turn. So you just use engage to go ahead and get like your search or your extra draw if you have the spell count too. The only card that I feel like I really missed was having more than one burner, and that's a pretty usual thing, but at the same time I don't think I would ever go more than one burner, at least right now, because I think that having more than one burner, it kind of puts a preface on you opening more than one burner then, and I wouldn't want to do that because it's usually just a card that I search. Also, Air Zero was kind of cool. There was a really nice interaction, but I ended up siding it out anyways, where I got Lightning Stormed, but you flip Metaverse and then you activate Air Zero if you don't have Ray, and then you just let your Air Zero get popped and you go directly into Ray, which is kind of cool on resolution. So there's definitely a couple cool things about the list that I really did enjoy. No Nibiru. I was really big on Nibiru, and I just feel like that card is just so mid. It did not come up one time at the regional. It was very bad. Also, Lava Golem didn't either, but in theory, it's just the best card to deal with here. I had the Dark Ruler Regeki in there just for, I was really expecting a lot more like combo decks. I also just didn't play back removal. It was something at first where when I was theorying the list, I just didn't have it in there. And then I was kind of like, man, I probably should have added in some twins. But at the end of the day, it really didn't come up like at all. Even against Fluanderies, just having cards like Burner, there can be only one, having Solemn Strike, like there's just so many cards that just did so much more work and it just never mattered. So I didn't really care to have like the back row removal, because if you're playing against like the tier element deck and like Sprite all day, you don't really need it. Even if you're playing against like pure Punk, like a lot of these decks just don't play back row. Even though Eldritch was probably the best option to go ahead and counter a lot of what people were doing at the event, I just feel like having the back row out just wasn't important at all. But there are a couple of changes that I would make to the list. I was looking at the Gamma package on the side to go ahead and do the Hulk play against Sprite because it is getting very popular. I did add in some twins just because I feel like there was a situation or two yesterday where like twin would have come up. And you just want to have things like twin in your deck just because it's a very strong card. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of changes that I would actually make. I cut Ogre down to 2 because it's just one of those things that like it'll be another one of the hand traps that you see, and it's also just once per turn, so you can't use it more than once, of course. So I'd rather just not put it at multiples. Maybe we'll try out the Cyber Dragon thing down the line, but I am going to a case tournament in a little bit, so I'm going to try out this list, and then I'll report back in the community tab over on my YouTube page. So if you haven't already checked that out, definitely go over there and look at it because of the Demon Slayer deck box giveaway as well. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and just know that there's so many more updates coming to Striker and so many more things that I'm thinking about doing, especially because like the list is always changing, right? So we're always making sure that we are staying ahead and really making sure that we're looking at all the trends coming up. And I will be making a new Where to Hand Trap guide as well, coming up here in about a week, because I feel like there's enough new decks and enough changes that I really want to make sure that everyone's just on top of what to use and what to do. So I hope that everyone enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already checked out my Discord, Twitch, Twitter, and my Instagram, definitely go ahead and check them out down in the link in the description below. And then also, if you need a coaching session over at Metafy, definitely go ahead and check it out, and I'll check you all in the next video. Later.